I'm Dylan Ratigan. I've interviewed nearly every CEO and most world leaders during the past 25 years. And now on Bootstrapping, I'm turning my attention to the new CEOs and the irrepressible entrepreneurs leading the next generation of innovation in the world. Welcome back to Tasty Live. I am Dylan Ratigan. Time for another episode of Bootstrapping. My guest today, Brett Isis, the founder and CEO of a company called Hello Subs. You can see it on his shirt. At first, Brett, I thought maybe it was a food business, but I read a little bit and I saw that it is really a play to provide more teachers. I'm hoping better teachers more efficiently to more classrooms. Basically, it's a play on a platform basically for substitute teachers to get placed into schools. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're right. We're not going head to head with Subway. I don't want any of that business.
Although you could pivot with that name. You could pivot.
Good, and that was my first job. When I was 14 and sandwich artist behind the counter.
After you're raising money, I know on Republic right now. After you raise all the money, and then you're like, this teaching thing, we're going with pastrami, the new asset allocation. No, all jokes aside, you're actually addressing a core issue, or at least taking a shot, which I admire. Just that
we're going after one of the biggest challenges facing the education system today. People hear a lot about teacher shortage and substitute shortage to a lesser degree, but in a lot of ways they're tied together. Like you said, we've built a platform that takes a modern approach to connecting schools and substitute teachers, which can also then become a pipeline for introducing folks into the career of education.
So it's not just substitute teachers. You're basically expanding the potential pool of teachers using technology.
We are. Statistics show that there's less and less people joining the education career through the traditional teacher preparation and 4-year degree programs. There's alternative certification programs that are out there, and we're introducing it to people that maybe didn't previously consider it as a career.
Mm-hmm. And when I think about your business, I think about also the nursing shortage and also the farmer shortage. If you look at sort of the baby boomers and the demographics, and teachers right in the bullseye, along with nurses and farmers of the highest need / most limited supply. Nurses is probably number one, but this has got to be right in there. Do you view yourself as a service to solve a short-term need for a school? They need a teacher for a week or a day, or do you view yourself as a career path for people to come in and move beyond substitute teaching, or both?
Really both, and you're absolutely right. There's many other marketplaces that have popped up and had a ton of success addressing the shortage in nursing, in farming, skilled trades as well.
Yeah.
It's all part of this big transition to gig economy, right? And the way we view that is through worker empowerment. But to answer your question, it's both. So we address job orders that come in the morning of, right? Somebody's sick, it's 6:30 in the morning, they need coverage that day. We get people in there for that. We fill long-term coverage needs, which could be someone who's out on maternity, paternity leave, or even a position that was not filled by a permanent teacher. The school needs a long-term sub in there in the meantime. I would say about a third of the substitutes on the platform are considering a career in education. So for about a third of them, it is that pipeline. For the other 2/3, it is kind of a gig for them and probably not something they're going to do for their whole career.
Mm-hmm. And do you view yourself through the lens of, do you provide assets to them? Do you say, do you provide, if I'm a Hello substitute teacher, you connect me with a gig, or you also allow me access to other resources to become a teacher?
We welcome people that are new to the job, right? So we provide them with the training that they need to be successful coming into the classroom.
But you manufacture substitute teachers through some training process.
Exactly right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because this is one of the huge differentiators between the traditional staffing agencies that have been trying to support schools for the last few decades, where they're really just managing schools' existing pools of subs. But those pools aren't big enough anymore. Those schools don't have enough coverage. So to provide them the support they need and the fill rates, right? This is a school's number one KPI, right? Their fill rate. To get them the numbers that they need, we have to manufacture and train new people.
And which brings up the sort of the elephant in the room, which is we're talking about our children and we're talking about a huge amount of our children's childhood is spent with this community and with these people, which is historically why there's a various forms of, it's more regulated than many jobs, right? That the qualifications and access as it should be. And I'm curious how you manage that filter. And in other words, are you managing a filter and you're guaranteeing the school that this is not a maniac of some kind? Or, what is the filtering process between a maniac and a teacher?
Yeah. You're 100% right that this is a huge part of our children's lives, and their schooling is totally paramount, right? I've got 3 young kids myself, and making sure that they're in there with a great leader, a great example, a great teacher every day is so important. Just to put some numbers on how big that is, just in the K-12 system, there's over 50 million classroom days every year that have to be covered by a sub. So add that up over the K through 12 lifespan of a student, and they're spending somewhere between 2/3 and an entire year with a substitute. So to answer,
and we don't want that substitute to be a babysitter.
Yes, we want
the substitute to be memorable or dynamic or active in some way that's affirmative for the students,
and help the students to achieve the learning objectives, right? Not just, I'm sure a lot of us remember as kids, right? Oh, it's a substitute day, right? Movie day.
Substitute day was one off from a snow day, bro.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do you avoid that?
Sure. So it starts by following the same regulations that the school districts and the states have set out for substitutes, right? So they've put out the framework for really what is the bare minimum, right? What are the background, the criminal background.
Government filter is the first filter, which is a state level filter.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then we take that beyond. To be honest, there's a number of school districts out there that don't even have the personnel resources to interview and really screen. I mean, they screen them for criminal, but they don't really have the time to interview all the substitutes.
Right, personality and strengths and none of that jazz.
Exactly. This is where Hello Subs comes in. So we have written assessments, we interview every individual sub, and we assess those strengths to figure out what the right job for them is going to be. And then we can actually feed that into an algorithm, right? To make sure that the most suitable sub is being matched to the most suitable position, whether that be a kindergarten role or maybe they're covering for AP physics. Some substitutes are hallway monitors, right? And others are leading a class for 3 months. So the same person is not the right fit for each job.
And talk more about that though. So that's the major issue, and I'm assuming that's where technology is your friend. But you're basically as good as your interview process, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. You've got to be systematic about it.
What are the key first principles of your interview process that go beyond, a government filter of criminality and sort of basic, social acceptability?
Sure. I mean, just talking through people's experience is a great first start, right? What did they study in school? What is their background educational knowledge, right? How much time have they spent in the classroom? What sort of training do they have around classroom management, developing and following lesson plans? This is all really, really critical stuff. And then once they're in the system, we can really glean a lot from their performance, right? So we spend a lot of time collecting feedback from both the schools and the substitutes to figure out which jobs are really going well for them, and then being able to match them to more that are like that.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you existed?
We launched Hello Subs at the end of 2020. Really had our first, we were really kind of getting early good traction at the beginning of 2021.
COVID related, I presume.
Yeah, the schools were just coming back, right? They were coming back in person. There was huge demand. So yeah, timing was on our side there.
And how many teachers have you placed? What's your total number of placements so far?
Sure. We've had around 1,000 substitutes activated on the platform. We're working with about 100 schools across the 6 major markets that we're in. And, over that time, we've had...
Which markets? That's in Texas? I know you're in Texas.
Sure. Yeah, we actually started in Colorado, where I'm from. So we launched in Denver. We're operating there in Colorado Springs. Here in Texas, we're in Austin and Houston. And we're also operating in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh.
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I just wanted...
Well, I just say throughout those, we've supported, over 10,000, classroom days or substitute days worked.
And I mean, I what is your vision for the next 12 to 18 months? Why are you raising money? What's the money for? Yeah. What are you imagining the next next year looks like? Just leave it at that.
Sure. Well, maybe if I could start with just, almost kind of the bigger picture is the total opportunity here. Almost every school needs what we're offering, right? Article in the USA Today just yesterday said 86% of schools are struggling with recruitment, right? And if they're struggling with permanent teacher recruitment, that trickles down into substitutes as well. So, our vision is to really expand nationwide across all these districts, private schools, independent schools, charter schools that need our support. Across the next 12 to 18 months, we'll likely open up another 2 states, probably 4 to 6 additional major metro markets. And we aim to, at least double, probably closer to triple our revenue on the platform and the total days being worked.
And what's the use of funds for the raise on Republic?
Sure. So a couple of things, right? We've talked so far. We've talked a lot about kind of our recruitment and how we are building and manufacturing this pool of substitutes, and that's a really important part. But the technology is also an incredibly important part. Really, one doesn't work without the other.
Of course.
There's companies that have tried to build substitute software to solve this, but if you don't fill that with people, then the schools still aren't getting the coverage that they need. So the use of funds is really for both. We have an incredible technical lead. Our CTO, Derek Bergman, has built us an incredible platform, and we have a lot more work that we want to do on the software side of things. So we do need to invest into engineering and product development, and we'll use some funds towards that. And then the other part of it will be opening those new markets for marketing to the schools, having those conversations with the superintendents, spending the money that we need to spend to get into those conversations. And then, of course, recruiting and building the pools of substitutes to support them.
And how much are you raising?
$250,000 through Republic. We've previously raised about $300,000 from a proper VC and some angels and angel groups.
And why the decision to use Republic, out of curiosity? Was it also because of marketing? You wanted to have a broad, small shareholder base? Is it a strategic decision to be available? Maybe you're even, I guess the teachers themselves could buy it.
That's exactly right. So yeah, the decision behind crowdfunding was to give our teachers, the people in our community, my personal friends and family, everyone that we're involved with, an opportunity to benefit from what we're building here. I mean, I think the crowdfunding aspect is incredible, right? I mean, as you know, angel investing is great, but it's limited to high net worth individuals, right? Most of your day-to-day folks, most substitute teachers are probably not investing in high growth technology startups. And we wanted to provide that opportunity for them. In terms of Public specifically, I kind of lucked out. Actually, I had a friend that was working at Republic and introduced me to the platform. I thought what they were doing was really innovative, and they had a really big audience.
Mm-hmm. It's a pleasure to make the acquaintance, Brett. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure being on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Brett Isis. This is Bootstrapping. I'm Dylan Ratigan. More Tasty Live after this.